Okay, good morning. David?
And Mike, I thought we'll do something unexpected today with the first question and ask you about Dak. Just what will, since he wasn't going to play in this game anyway, is he kind of on a schedule where roughly what he did yesterday and then next week when you get back to Frisco, kind of working back closer to what he was?
I think, as far as his movement, he'll continue to do what he's been doing. So, I mean, he's been, getting a full day's work, as far as overall movement, as far as conditioning and, the working the run plays, the quarterback drills. But I think, like anything, I think it's only natural when you shut a quarterback down completely, throwing, then there's a process where you got to build him back up. So we'll continue to go through that regiment today. So he'll do a little more throwing today than he did yesterday.
How did he come off the field yesterday with his throwing? How does he feel today?
Everything's good. Talked to him this morning, so he's feeling good and just wants to keep progressing.
Is that third preseason game still the realistic goal at this point, or can you also make that the fourth game if it's a goal?
I hope so. I hope so. We'll just see how today goes, and when we get back to Frisco, just stay on course. So yeah, it would be great. But I think just like anything, my experience is, just like playtime. We won't discuss playtime until tomorrow morning. Once we get all the medical information in from today's practice. This is a full day today. With the padded practices and mock game, and so we haven't padded up since we practiced against the Rams. So we need to have a big day today.
How do you script out what he does on the side? Is it just going through a series of plays and situations?
I mean, it's all measured. I mean, I think the communication between Britt Brown and what he's done all the way through this process. So I was kidding Britt that that he needs to start giving me his 10-play script a little sooner, because he's kind of drags his feet when it comes time to talk real football.
Mike, we got to watch Hard Knocks last night and hear some of that dialogue about keeping him back. Is that still something you have to convince him to take it easy, or does he get it now that he just has to go slow?
I mean, I think it's like anything in this business. Every player has a different personality. I think, when you think about competitiveness and work ethic and his drive, it's obviously at the highest level. I think that's clear to anybody that's ever worked with him or been around him. So, but yeah, I mean, everything's regulated. So, I mean, he's in great shape. I mean, I know just what he's done with his body, and just the way he looks and the way he's leaned down. So, I mean, it's going through those changes, which will definitely be a huge advantage for him in the long run. But yeah, that's why I think you see us taking an approach that we've taken with him.
Can you update us on some of the scrimmage injuries, Gallimore, Basham, some of those guys?
Basham won't work today. Gallimore, hopefully we'll see how he comes out of the talk through here. But I see Neville coming today.
Mike, back to Hard Knocks. I mean, NFL teams are so buttoned up, they don't want to have information out, and here we are. We're all seeing it. The whole world is seeing that. What is that like as a coach, having so much information that normally would never be seen by anybody, and NFL fans across the world are watching what you guys are talking about?
I mean, I think it's human nature. Especially in this business. It's definitely. It's not the preferred. It's there's still an uncomfortableness with it. You see yourself, still being guarded. I think it's only natural. But I think with that, the relationship between the Hard Knocks crew and really Rich is the point person on it for us. So we're comfortable with the end product, just to make sure that the competitive advantage and those types of things is taken into account.
Mike, do you know any coach who's okay with it, or are all you guys sort of cut out of the same cloth that you'd really rather not?
I mean, I haven't, asked a bunch of guys, but yeah, I don't, I can't really speak on their behalf. I think it's just, it's like anything. I mean, you have a norm, you have an operation, you have environments that you operate in, and you're always tweaking it and adjusting it, and this is an adjustment, and I think our players especially have done a great job working in this environment. So I mean, I can't say it enough. I mean, the Hard Knocks crew, they've been very professional. So it's not that. It's just not normal.
Obviously, the young guys get pretty hyped up for that first action. you had it in the Hall of Fame game. Isaac Alarcon said, he said, my heart was beating through my chest, the adrenaline was pumping so hard. I said, was that right before you went in? He said, no, it was when I woke up. So do you find that second game is a little more indicative of how guys are going to play because they've settled down for the young guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a natural progression. I think you see that. And I think a lot of times when you see players that, they're thinking too much, they hesitate a little bit, and we definitely had a lot of that in the second half. So we're actually spending more time with our younger players. Started yesterday and today, and we'll get tomorrow. Just because we need to get more production. We're looking for improvement, particularly in the second half group.
Since we won't talk to you again until after the preseason game, what do you feel you were able to accomplish or feel good about what you did at this phase of training camp? And what are areas as you break and go back to Frisco that you feel really need to focus on?
I mean, I feel great about our installation phase. I mean, the workload capacity of being out here in this weather is tremendous. I mean, it's I was actually nervous because everybody that had been there before just raved about how great it was, and I was worried about but it's great to practice football. So I mean, because everything was great outside of what we did on the field, but that wasn't the case. I mean, the workload capacity that you're able to really crank on, as opposed to being in the heat, because guys are just trying to get through the practice, so you can see just in the range. One thing GPS does give you, you can see the ranges and the trend lines of the player participation, through the individual drills, into the group periods, into the team periods, and so. In this atmosphere here, you're able to really crank it, and so the quality of work is what you're always chasing, but the quantity, we definitely hit the target.
What did you see from Jabril Cox Thursday night?
Just obviously love the way he moves and plays, but I think he was a little hesitant at first, and I think once he got going, he's probably a good example of what the second half looked like for a lot of our guys. So I look for him to take the next step, and particularly in special teams and into the second half.
J-Lo suffered what I believe was a neck injury in that Hall of Fame game. Can you provide any details about where his future?
Yeah, it's going to be a while. I don't have the exact timeline, but he definitely will not be available the rest of the preseason.
Can you
Is it
speak
a surgical thing that he may need?
As of right now, no, but he will not be available the rest of the preseason.
What does added nerve? What do you like about him on your staff and what you've seen from him coaching the defensive line?
I mean, AD's been a great addition. I think just like anything, as a coaching staff, his passion for the game is evident. But he's a great glue guy. His personality, work ethic. He's the same energy every day. It's awesome to work with someone that has a thicker accent than yourself. So I really appreciate that. And I love him. He's been a great addition.
Background, does that in a way help? You think that he didn't grow up the traditional football way? How does that help?
Absolutely. I mean, you look at his path and what he's overcome, and his starting point is it's a great story. Working through personnel and just all the things that he was able to experience before this particular opportunity. I mean, I think it shows you his diversity, and he's built a great foundation, and there's not a conversation in a room that he's not comfortable speaking in.
Coach, we saw Amari in the walkthrough yesterday coming off the PUP. Is it a similar plan with DeMarcus and the same deal to kind of ramp them up?
Absolutely. I mean, same thought process. We want to get them back into the mock games, get the mental part of it going. Obviously, he's doing a great job. The strength coaches and the trainers feel really good about where he is, right now. So he's really done a great job in the conditioning component of it. So getting them game ready is obviously what we're trying to do, but it was really just to get them back in the mental part of it.
You guys didn't carry a true fullback last season. You have for a number of years with the Packers. What's your philosophy in that, and your comfort level and the versatility of your tight ends? Should you not carry a fullback, their ability to come in?
I mean, I love the fullback position. I mean, ability, to me, I think offensive football is you can categorize it as, you got one back, two back, and no backs. And that's the way I've always built offensive schemes yearly. And I think you have to look at it that way because, today's NFL player acquisition, you want to take the best players available, particularly in the draft process. obviously in the free agent process. So I've had rosters that had 3 fullbacks on the 53, and I've had rosters that don't have any. Frankly, I always look at the roster development as really it's really the responsibility of the players, because as they compete and as things shake out, particularly in the spring, and you make sure you have schemes and concepts available throughout the 1-back, no-back, or 2-back. Really the competition between the tight ends and the fullback, and the versatility, special teams always plays a big factor in that. And that's really what's happened to the fullback position, because it's, when you look at it from a business standpoint, the fullback position, if a guy doesn't play special teams, he's going to play 5, 6, maybe 10 snaps a game. So that's part of it. And that's a shame about Shaywell. I mean, he had an opportunity to potentially be a primary special teams player for us, because he has that body type of, he could play, almost some of the movement tight end, assignments and things like that. So the flexibility of having a fullback that has, the multiplicity of playing special teams and be able to move around is, I think you're seeing more and more of it here in the last 3 or 4 years in the league, and it's coming back.
What have you seen from Gilbert and the extra snaps he's gotten with Dak out, and how difficult is it to build confidence in a guy as your primary backup when he has such a thin resume as a starter or playing in NFL games? What do you kind of base your confidence on when a player in that situation?
I think the biggest thing, Garrett, the next step is just get the efficiency, where exactly it needs to be. I mean, he does the hard things. I mean, he keeps us in good plays. He commands the line of scrimmage. Has made the tougher throws, but the efficiency of making all the efficient throws is something that just really comes with snaps, reps. So the one thing you always look for in the development of quarterbacks, are they responding with their opportunities they're given? And Garrett has definitely done that. He's gotten better, with every opportunity he's had. I mean, you just look at his opportunity last year against Pittsburgh. He did some excellent things at the line of scrimmage in that game. I mean, they were overloading us in their run defensive calls, and he kept us in healthy run plays throughout that game. So, but he's really taken advantage of this opportunity, the snaps that he's been given with Dak not practicing.
Preferring a backup, a veteran who knows kind of what to do, or a guy who's developing and will get there?
Well, the most important thing, he gives a chance to win. So, I mean, whatever category you want to put him in, but I think also you got to recognize, our quarterback room, and where your starter is in his career sometimes plays into how you're developing, the players behind him, the quarterbacks behind him. So, end of the day, the backup has to be able to keep the team playing, keep the offense playing to its full capabilities. Getting the ball to the perimeter guys, keeping that clean looks in both the run and the protection. And Garrett gives us that, and Cooper's that type of player too. So, I mean, and that's where Ben has to continue to work to. So that's the most important part, because the quarterback has to put the other guys in position to be successful.
Will Rush be able to do anything today, or?
I'm actually waiting on that. I don't have a final on Cooper today.
Malik Hooker, is he ready to put the pads on?
Getting better. Yeah, he's getting better. He's getting close.
Malik Turner, obviously he appeared to be ascending through this camp and made a bunch of good plays in the Pittsburgh game, even knocking down the interception or potential interception. But then he had the fumble. So when you look at the body of work from that game with Malik, how do you judge that? I
mean, the fumble's a big play in the game, obviously. So, I mean, you can't. I mean, ball security is the primary focus for our football team. I mean, we were poor last year, especially taking care of the ball. I think we were 7th in the league taking it away. So, that's definitely a big play that, we need to learn from. But, Malik did so many other good things in the game. He plays, he's an excellent special teams player. I mean, there's not too many practices that we've had, the padded work, that he hasn't stood out and made some plays. So I think Malik is having a heck of a camp for us.
What will your approach be with the second game, since you don't have a Rams practice right after it? Will you extend the number of?
You liked that schedule, didn't you? Yeah.
It was an interesting one.
Yeah, we won't do it again. So.
What is your approach in the second game? Is it basically just the same in the first, and then the third you start to change?
Well, the second game, you also got to factor we're going back to Dallas. I mean, that plays into it. I mean, we're transitioning from being away from camp. So I mean, it's not going to be the normal turnaround. So you'll see that in the way it's reflected. So we get late, after the game Friday night, we get back late. So the players and the players will be off. Coaches will have a chance to transition and get their offices in order and so forth. And then Monday we have a night practice. It's the blue and white practice. So we'll start later in the day because I just want to make sure everybody has a chance to transition. Also be practicing indoors, and because the Tuesday practice is the really the one I'm more focused on because we'll be practicing in 90 plus degree weather, and you got a lot of glass around you, with the practice fields, and so it'll be hotter than 92 plus degrees. So I mean, those are the kind of things that I think about. So there's going to be a transition period there for our team, and we just got to make sure we train smart during that transition.
Parts of getting back to Dallas are you most looking forward to?
Say again?
Parts of getting back to Dallas are you most looking forward to?
Well, I mean, it's our environment. I think routine, not only transitioning from California to Frisco, I mean, there's definitely a transition in our daily schedule. You'll see us go more to an in-season schedule. I think there's always a point in training camp where you want to get your team regulated into the in-season mode. That's something we'll work through going into the Houston week because Houston will be kind of like our dress rehearsal, and I'm not really talking about the game. It's more about what the days look like leading up to the game.
We see on the defensive line there's a heavy rotation of guys. With how you guys are set up at linebacker, is that a possibility where you can rotate guys in and out and really even out playing time with all those guys?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest thing is personnel groups, matchups. I mean, you're trying to project. I mean, you do it every year. So we definitely have a lot more flexibility because of the level of experience and talent that we have at the linebacker group. So, yeah, that's definitely something that I think is obvious we've been exploring.
You mentioned the glass there at training or Frisco, eyes on you and things like that. Are you used to the level of scrutiny, or is the level of scrutiny with this job any different than when you were in Green Bay?
Well, I mean, I was referring to the glass because of the heat so I was talking about a different kind of heat. So, yeah, I mean, to me, that's the business. I mean, scrutiny, whether it's 10 or 20, I mean, what's the difference? I think like anything in our business, and the longer you're in it, the more and more you understand it and appreciate it. I mean, you always have urgency. My urgency is to get this practice in today because our younger players need this is kind of the first real Thursday preparation, in-season Thursday type preparation practice they have, and it has to translate to them performing better on Friday night. So that's, to me, urgency is in everything that you do. It's not where you are in your career or what happened last year, because if you don't have the daily urgency, you're going to get left behind in this business. So, and that's just the way I've always approached it. I think we all have it as coaches in this business because we all understand. I mean, it's you have to win now, and so you have that urgency, but there's also a very keen eye on developing a program for the long term too. I think that's reflected in our draft classes the last 2 years. So, I mean, that's part of the job, but the urgency is to get this team ready to win. Now. I mean, we go to Tampa. We're going in there full expectations to win our opening game. And everything we do now is leading up to that, and urgency is part of the fuel that drives that.
Dak's potential availability in later preseason games. There are other NFL coaches like Sean McVay who said Matthew Stafford's not going to be on the field at all during the preseason. Philosophy in general with quarterbacks and star players getting time in the preseason?
Well, I mean, we all understand the business component of it and the commitment to certain players on the payroll. So, I mean, you can't be naive to that. That's real. But also, you measure risk assessment every day, and there's always there's a level of risk of practicing. That's accepted. There's a level of risk practicing against another team. So I mean, you look at those things, and at the end of the day, you make a conscious, educated decision, and you go about it. And at the end of the day, these players, that's why you see the way they approach practice, the same way they approach the game, because they have to have one clean mindset when they step on the field. It always has to be the same for those guys. So, I mean, it's not their job to worry about, when I play, how much I play, and so forth. Because if they let that into their thought process, they're not focused on what they should be focused on, and that's to treat the field the same every time they step out there. So so I get how other people do it, but I think it also reflects on where you think you are on each side of the ball. I mean, you may look at the defense different than the offense. Defense is the first year in the system. Offense, there's a lot of carryover with our veteran players. So all those things go into account when you talk about play time and how you decide to play your team in the preseason.
Mike, after 30 some odd NFL training camps or whatever it's been for you, is this the first time vasectomy talk has come up?
On TV, yeah. I mean, that's the cleanest version I think I've ever heard. But I was kind of shocked Rich let it slip through. But.
Thank you.
Well, it's good to see Rich get a little second guessing going on out there. That's good.